Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another little market rant here with Andrew. And if you like talking about the energy transition, what it's going to take, what it looks like, and looking at the market in general to get us there, this is what we do. We try to get through a lot of the not talked about, the misinformation, the hopes, the reality, all that wonderful stuff. And today is no different. And we're going to go back to a person who's in the news quite a bit. In fact, two people. One is Jeff Currie. He was at Goldman Sachs for years. He's now at Carlyle Group. And, he reiterates for the last year, I think since 2021, that copper is basically the most compelling, the best trade he's seen in 30 years. We're going to watch a little clip here. We'll let him kind of speak for himself about that. But I just want to set that up first by just kind of reminding people that I'm certainly biased on copper, on mining, especially if one does want to do this transition in any way, shape, or form. I understand and know that along with having the printing press to be able to print money, if you have that ability, which the U.S. has, energy is key to any country. Before anything else, if you've got energy security and you have that, you can then build from there. If you don't have that, you're at the whims of other people. And right now, in this transition, we are completely at the whims of China at the end of the day. And so we'll watch two videos. One, Jeff Currie, just a quick block. And then, of course, we'll speak about Robert Friedland, who needs very little introduction, a Canadian-U.S. billionaire. Ivanhoe Mines is one amongst many mining companies and board positions, director positions, CEO of many mining companies, and lots of wins. But he is very well known for his great speeches on copper. He's doing one tomorrow. You can tune into Kitco, I think, if you want to see live. Of course, we're going to look at one from just a little while ago, and we'll watch a clip of that. But let's start with Jeff Currie here and check out this quick clip here.
These bullish arguments, and by the way, they haven't worked out. But I talk to a lot of people who will say, copper is their highest conviction trade. I wear my copper bracelet right here. It is the highest conviction trade I've ever seen. If you've got decarbonization, green capex demand, AI, data center demand, military demand, it takes 12, sometimes 26 years to bring on new supply. You can't come up with a better story. But the bottom line, we've been telling this story for 3 years, and maybe now it's beginning to work. I'm confident that this time it's liftoff, and I think we're going to see more momentum behind it because you have three sources of demand this time around, meaning green capex, AI, plus military. Back in 2021, all we had was the green capex demand, and now it's in full force supply.
So perfect. I mean, he'll go on, and I mean, it's great. I can't say it any better. And certainly, he's been at the commodities, specifically copper, for far longer than I have. So it's great to have someone else, at that scale, telling people the necessity of all of this. What we don't see is the reflection on the miners as much, but that does trickle down. It takes time. Now, anybody who's been in the mining space is sick of hearing about that. We're a bit of a masochistic bunch to be involved in mining because it's very difficult. It's very challenging. It's kind of like being in the R&D section of, say, Google or Amazon or any of these other companies where they don't project and talk about the things that don't work out, even though they get billions and billions and billions of dollars, or incubators that spend money on ideas that don't go anywhere. You only hear about the big unicorns that win. If mining had that kind of money, if it had a fraction of that kind of money, we would be able to bring on the supply that's absolutely required to make any of this transition possible. And before we get into the next video with Robert Friedland, the crisis that we face with bringing on copper is shocking. There hasn't been that many discoveries. The grades are going down. We even reported earlier today that Escondido, they're having to deal with a dispute there, so that shut down the mine for a bit. So when you don't have a lot of mines and a lot of big mines producing, there's issues, and we need to find more and to bring more on board. And we've talked about it before, that the average lead time is now 18 years from discovery to a mine being operational. that's never going to meet any 2030 or 2050 yardstick. And that conversation needs to be had more vocally at a very high level. Now, we showed a video last year of Pierre Polyev talking about creating a faster, streamlined approach to mining. We see as well that the U.S. is considering bringing on the Bureau of Mining, which would be great. If they want to decouple and they want to have any kind of control of their own destiny towards energy, that means pivoting a bit away from China without breaking trade or without getting too aggressive or too bipolar in power. But that has to happen. Right now, we're at the whims. They pretty much control the smelting, the production of most metals and minings, all of the critical ones, and it's been a severe underinvestment and neglect in the West. We'll call it the entirety of the West, and that needs to come home. And we see with the Inflation Reduction Act a real focus on chips, and let's just make chips here at home now again. We need to really think about more foundational, more mining, more getting things out of the ground, having it in your background because it's better and safer to have it in your background. We know that you just can't mine somewhere else in Africa or India or in Asia, anywhere, and it not have an effect on the environment, on the global environment, on air quality, on water, you name it. The just kind of closing your eyes and just hoping that you get all the things that make your iPhone without having to know where it came from. Those days should come to an end. And they should rapidly come to an end, and there's no reason why it shouldn't. And one could argue, though, if someone wanted to slow down that process, because as we'll see when we hear Robert Friedland talk, we're going to talk about the cost of mining right now. Inflation has caused everything to surge. We've had a good run on a lot of the metals that have been up in the past year for 2024, but construction has slowed down in just housing because the cost of everything across the board has gone up dramatically. That goes into the cost of a mine, and a cost of a mine is huge. The cost of a solar farm is huge. The cost of a nuclear reactor. I mean, these things aren't just little bits of money. Like a small move in borrowing cost has extreme changes in the reflection of the model. But we've had massive changes. And let's just jump into the Robert Friedland one here now. And we'll get a better sense from him. And once again, it's Ivanhoe Mines. He's very copper dominant and related. So like myself, and like Jeff Currie, we have a vested interest in this. We're very biased in this. But, very few people out there, and I don't mean those of you who are watching because you've been watching for a while and you hear this regularly from us. It's your average person has no concept of what this transition is going to look like or even could entail. Most of the politicians have no idea how this works. I've seen countless videos of YouTube streams where some politician they mentioned what this is going to take as far as metals and mining, and they're blown away. They had no idea. And I'm not picking on them because they don't know. Well, how would they know? They're politicians. They're just running an office to stay in office. For them to be able to be cognizant of so many different issues is challenging, and it's not like mining's glamorous. And it's certainly, we don't have a mining lobby that is out petitioning and working on behalf. I always joke that the milk lobby is infinitely stronger than the mining lobby, which is shocking because once again, you don't get any of your technology without mining, and you don't get any of this energy transition without mining. So if you do think that there is an existential crisis, then we need to be mining. So let's get into Robert Friedland, though, so that I don't rant on too far and listen to his more calm from an interview he's done, a conference he did before.
The most important venue for the miners to come like bees to honey. The kingdom wants to reduce mineral imports, quoting the vice minister, by 65%, aiming to have 50% of its energy coming from renewable energy in a few short years, essentially tomorrow morning. It's doable, but we'll need new technology. Any kind of renewable energy is absurdly energy intensive. A typical electric car is about 6 times the amount of minerals in a conventional car. Offshore wind is just crazy at 9 times the minerals. And so that's why these cables that serve wind farms are so expensive. Look at all the copper along with that fiber optic cable. So if we look at the history of humanity, I'm just reminding you, we've covered this before. If you go back to Mohenjo-Daro, you go back to 4000 BC, as a species without electrification, we need to mine the same amount of copper in the next 22 years as we have in human history. And
okay, we'll pause there. Now, of course, this goes on, and it's a fascinating interview. You can check it out on YouTube. We'll have the links there as well. But there's a couple of things that I just wanted to comment on very quickly. When he's talking about Saudi Arabia and the kingdom wanting 65% of their energy coming from there, from their own mining. So them developing, discovering minerals on their land, and them controlling that. Saudi Arabia is not stupid. I mean, they understood oil and gas very well. They understand that you can't give up control of energy. Once you do that, it's over. So they don't want to just give that away and say, oh, well, we'll just let China deal with that. And that's the mistake that we've done in the West. We've said, well, we don't want to mine here because nobody likes to talk about it. It's not a good political chat. And it's too much effort to bother to educate people on this. Why don't we just get China to do it? They can make a mess. We're not even going to pay attention to what they're doing to the environment, and hopefully no one will. Well, that worked until you have internet and until you have people reporting, and then you have all these NGOs realizing, oh my goodness, what is going on here? Look at pollution. And now it doesn't work. And that underinvestment into searching in friendlier jurisdictions closer, because once again, if you have to mine, say in BC, and then ship to China to have it smelted and then sent, made into a good and sent back, you can imagine the cost on transportation, and with shipping with bunker fuel, that's an immense environmental cost as well. Surely there's a better way. And of course there is. It's in incentivizing people to invest in the mining sector. And it's certainly not the case with the type of governments that have been coming around in the West lately, is this idea that, well, the government will take care of it for you. If you just pay a tax, we'll go and try to find the solutions on your behalf and hopefully make good investments in it. And that is probably one of the worst ideas that one could have, at least historically speaking, and as well as market related. You're better off incentivizing people, giving them some sort of tax payback or some sort of incentive to say, if you invest in the R&D side or exploration side of mining, because it's very risky and often doesn't work out, you get XYZ. But with that, if it does work out, you get the gain, because you're not getting any benefit from right now from, say, the federal Canadian government giving Volvo $12 billion so they can make batteries that are going to go into cars, which then you're going to buy and then pay tax on as well. There's zero benefit. I mean, it's a loss. So there has to be a new way to reimagine how that we can get into this market, not only by educating, but on the environmental side and the way that we do things responsibly and how they can be done responsibly, but also to let people know that, yes, it's a dodgy market. There's a lot of pump and dump that still exists. There's a lot of lifestyle companies, but there's significantly less than there was in any of the crypto space. And that says something. So, once again, it's a matter of context, a matter of education, and a matter of just changing the narrative so that if people want to feel like they're getting on board with a solution, rather than marching the streets complaining and rightfully so saying, oh my God, the environment and this and that, that's fine. That's great. We all know what the problems are. Very few people out there don't know what the problems are. The issue becomes, wouldn't it be smarter if you got people excited and said, listen, if you put money towards these solutions, and I don't mean just into solar, into wind, that's too obvious. That's the end use, to all the things that make those things possible. Because once again, this friendshoring, this idea that Saudi Arabia has, that no, we don't want to rely on another country to give us metals and minerals, because we're at their behest. We're at their decision whether or not to give it to us or not. And that is never a position of strength. is that we here in Canada are a resource-based country. And if we turned around and said as well, we're going to incentivize people to invest into this space so that we could feed all these critical metals into not only our own technology, we've got a huge brainchild in Ontario of lots of huge brains going on there as far as tech. Never mind the fact that Cameco owns Westinghouse, which now means they're making nuclear reactors. We've got CANDU reactors out east as well. There's so much that we could be doing and that we should be doing, but that we aren't doing. But where there's hope is that there is a big change coming, and regardless of whatever side of the aisle you are on, both sides do recognize that there is this transition and it needs to be done. Now, if it's for different reasons, who cares? I don't mind if one is doing it for an ideological reason and one's doing it for an economic reason. That's fine. But it is happening and it's not going to stop. So I'll wrap it up by kind of saying, I saw an interesting article saying that the super cycle was over. And I kind of laughed because I thought, oh, wow, that's incredible clickbait because of the iron ore price drop. And there's a slowdown in China that's undeniable right now. But like all things, there goes in waves and whatnot. But I would say that, yes, it's the end of a super cycle. Long live the super cycle. We might get a bit of a pause to take our breath for a very small moment, but it's going to leap forward. And what that means is it means very strong prices in a lot of these metals, especially to counteract the cost of inflation on building anything. And right now, that cost is very, very challenging and very tough. Like we said, whether or not you're talking about reactors, mega projects, and these are all mega projects. But I think that people on a whole, if they were just told the truth from up on high, because who's going to believe Andrew or Jeff Currie or Robert Friedland? Well, because they've all got a vested interest in this. We need right from the top the acknowledgement that yes, let's focus on the solutions, and the solutions mean mining, having control of our own destiny, creating that energy, and being able to feed it into our own supply chains and with our partners and friends and neighbors, and to build that up. That's a good vision. And that means a ton of jobs. That means a ton of jobs, not only into building a lot of these specialty buildings, like a nuclear reactor requires a lot more precision building than, say, building a condo. It means a lot more engineers. It means a lot more mining professionals. And that means a great economy. So this is a message I think would be much more positive to focus on and to drive forward. And that would encourage the economy and encourage individuals to make decisions and to make investments and to then gain from those investments, rather than to just pass them off and say, just tax me. And hopefully these people in charge are those that are proficient in doing these types of investments, which often the case, they simply are not. Anyways, my rant, end of August, we're coming into September. I think there's going to be some change coming up soon. Tell me what you think. Let me know. Love to hear it. We like to get all the feedback from you guys, and we really appreciate it. And check in on Friday. I'll be ranting a bit more about gold. I think it was just was it just the other day, yesterday, where a bar has finally hit $1 million. That's a huge milestone, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. Anyways, we'll talk to you on Friday.